Blathering. We've been blithering and blathering up a storm about my interpretation, but who is George Leeman? If you haven't watched the video, to which this video is merely a response, George Leeman. George Leeman in this matter, the first mover. He's the one who has lifted the dead weight from the floor. I'm merely watching and commenting what he is doing. Ripples from the wave. This is just the foam. This is just the smoke. I'm just adding a sheen to what is arguably already complete. If I were to introduce, though, George Leeman, besides having heaved half a ton of iron from the floor, the barbell bent, warped under the weight, while he stood tall. Besides having lifted half a ton, held the weight aloft, while the crowd, in doubt whether time stood still or gravity ceased, the lifter George Leeman has not only raised dead weight from the floor, but has dreamt of and lived future lives. And that was the intended implication. Why don't we just read it? I can cut all this out. Might be pretty helpful to some of you. Where to begin with this one? And that's how he starts. Do we want to bother observing anything here? Well, he says it might be pretty helpful to some of you. This is not a treatise. This is more like a letter to a friend, or an epistle, as Seneca wrote to Lucilius in ancient Rome. May your good qualities face inward. It's not general knowledge that's applicable to the prediction of motion, or something that's going to stand up before haters carrying out all kinds of experiments to verify. But you, the individual, not a community that's looking for something indisputable. It's going to be useful for you who may want to achieve your goals, whether these goals are strength, love, power. This is not something for a community or a subset in a community looking to carve out a neutral zone from things that are highly disputable. They deemed it right that the public sphere on Earth had to be constituted in such a way. The right knowledge had to be instituted first, and then the goals you would carry out in life had to be in accord with those. Then George continues, I want to give people an understanding of the personal power that they actually have, the law of attraction. I'm a firm believer in the law of attraction. But some people will go, okay, but focusing on something right. Well, you don't understand it. You're not applying it right. Or at least some concepts that may not be factual, but will be easier for you guys to take. Accept. To accept means to believe. It's a weaker word. He doesn't want to say you have to believe it, because it's not something you have to believe to earn an afterlife. He said you're not applying it right. It's not a law. That's what he's saying. It's a tool, a magic charm, a whistle. Mario 3, a whistle, MGMT, a whistle that works every time you summon a genie in a bottle. It's a way of thinking that's not... It's not about what's real or must be believed. Is the law of attraction really the central theme? Or, as I said, is it just a tuk to his destination? Something that he's invoking to get warmed up, to offer a common opinion. Merely a segue, it's a sign he can hold up. People commonly say, here's this particular case that's hard to subsume. To what extent is George actually a firm believer in the law of attraction? The law of attraction makes a brief cameo and then disappears. Firmness of belief in the law of attraction, how would you measure that? Why not just begin with superficial detail, for which statistics are perfect? How frequently does the term law of attraction occur in this video? I can answer that question without really misleading you. It's only twice. But in one of those occurrences, he says he's a firm believer. But he doesn't invoke it that often, except at the beginning, when he's getting warmed up. In the transcript, George doesn't say, some people don't understand the law of attraction, he says, or some people don't understand, the law of attraction. Why does he hesitate before introducing the term? Or because by introducing this term, which he knows a lot of people regard as utterly fictitious. He may be incurring the wrath of haters, trolls, the average skeptic of everything that watches videos. I have a transcript of George's speech because YouTube provides a speech-to-text service. 3 dots at some point in the video. Click this, you get the transcript. You have to correct parts of it. It's not perfect. If you don't have the transcript, then you might not even notice that George repeats the word "the" twice. I know this is extremely unfair. He's getting warmed up. He's probably anticipating hate, persecution for this invocation of the law of attraction. As Rich Piano once said, I said Arnold has no legs, and I got blasted. And these things happen on the internet, especially in anonymous communication, where you're showing your face and thousands of people aren't, and they hate you. Scientific people who are going to say, oh, this isn't factual. That's why he's saying, I'm not claiming this is factual. Someone's going to correct me. Universes abstraction or multiverse abstraction tears it all down. He's about to get on the whiteboard and pencil. No. What I can tell you is, who are these opponents? Who are these adversaries? Who is the adversary and what exactly is his position? Do we ever actually hear? We hear the fat guy talk. We hear unnamed opponents that George voices and then rebukes. Are these opponents internal or external? A personification of George's conscience, causing him to doubt this defiant worldview or this masterful worldview, bending and molding the universe towards his wishes, his goals. Isn't that arrogant in a way? I don't think so, but they argue to themselves that their own goals are impossible. This is a fairy tale. This is just myth. Bunk doesn't correspond to reality. Whatever tribal or totemic taboos on thought. And the taboo on the unification of subject and object. They're basically finished things. It's all rubbish. Persecution, because that's Leo Strauss's term. That's Leo Strauss's philosophy. And where else is persecution seen? You invite persecution when you reveal your dreams to other people. At least if you trust the book of Genesis. Now I was going to say Exodus, but it's Genesis. Joseph reveals his dreams that the sun and the moon and 11 stars are bowing down to me in the dream. So it's a prophecy that I will rule over you all, even though I'm the youngest. Jacob and Rebecca, I guess. I don't know if it's Jacob and Leah, but Jacob and Rebecca's sons. So his 11 brothers are not, they're not happy, obviously. They're not thrilled. Yeah, so what happens? They fake his death. They show Joseph's coat with blood on it, but they actually throw him down a well, or they don't. They initially throw him down a well, but then a slaving caravan passes by, and they sell him into slavery, and the slave traders take him to Egypt. But it was all for the best, because he interpreted Pharaoh's dreams and became vizier. 7 fat years, you store up the grain in the granaries. 7 lean years arrive, then he has the grain to sell it back to the farmers and own their field. So, not a bad deal. I was watching a video the other day about an infinite number of universes, an infinite number of possibilities, an infinite number of things going on. Like, there's a universe somewhere where everyone's purple. For example. Just an example. Now, I'm not going to get into that. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I'm not qualified. I don't think anyone's really qualified to say that. But I'm certainly not. But what I can tell you is that everything you do, from your thoughts, your beliefs, the smallest actions, the time of day that you wake, looking at someone a little bit longer, the expression on your face, how you feel in your heart, the things you say to people. It's every single thing that you do that is constantly changing everything around you and dictating the universe for yourself and everyone else. Hypothesis that universes are many. That's how I'm going to say it. Because if you say there are many universes, You're invoking a there. You're invoking a there that contains them all. When you assert that universes are plural, but then they are there, or there are universes, you're contradicting your message. You're reunifying what you intend to diversify. When George says, watching a video the other day about an infinite number of universes, an infinite number of possibilities, an infinite number of things going on, I would offer the paraphrase everything for things going on. All being, not necessarily astronomical as the term universe tends to signify, but something beyond astronomical, bigger than that. Criticize, not just question, comment, paraphrase. And he knows this is not exact. I get that. But he says, there's a universe somewhere where everyone's purple. Well, in what? Besides the fact that he says there, in what is this somewhere? Is it a singular where? The language predisposes him to use monocosmic constructions and assumptions to try to somehow encode a multiverse. But if it's just one thing for the mind, there's some coherence prevails. Some coherence combines all things into one place, or under one law, one rule, one time, or is trying to do so, and we speak in terms of the past participles of this action universe. I'm not going to say universion, but universe. And that's... But what I can tell you is that everything you do, from your thoughts, your beliefs, the smallest actions, what's constantly changing, everything around you. How can the smallest actions have such, in combination, nonetheless have such a great effect that it changes? A very poetic example, the time of day you wake, that means it's the morning. It should remind you of sleep, and sleep should remind you of dreams. Looking at someone a little bit longer. How much longer? And intentionally or unintentionally? The expression on your face. To what extent do you have control over that? Or do you even require control at every moment of the expression? What I suggest, and he hasn't gotten to it here, but later in the video George will say the first step is dreaming, through which you know the goal towards which you shall act. And once you decide upon that goal or legislate it for yourself, then somehow all the small things that you do are going to be true towards that goal. They're going to help transmit you to that metaphorical universe where, and all these examples that George sometimes introduces about, you have this now. You can lift the weight you want. It's not just what, whom, it's more so being where and when in a setting where you're masterful, where walls do not seem immobile, where rules, especially those that are against you, I don't just mean the laws of the state that might prohibit you from carrying out your dreams, which they can, but I mean your own counter-arguments. You let that voice or that persona, demon inside your soul, you let that speak and carry the day when you could have won. And I think that's what he's saying throughout this video. Petty criticism, waves of hatred crashing over me, flames burning under me. But I have to make this criticism because that's the whole point of the video. Every single thing that you do is constantly changing everything around you and dictating the universe for yourself and everyone else. If universes are many, why say the? Why call any among these many the universe, as though it were the only one, or as though among all these universes it nonetheless had priority? It was the one that could determine what the rules are and what's possible or impossible, and just maybe this imagining of many universes is just completely fake, and maybe it'll help you accomplish your goals, but at the end of the day, this one universe called the universe shall rule. Now, you might be satisfied with that conclusion if you're lifting the weights that you want, or you've gotten the body that you want after having dieted for a month, and these goals are just about fitness and had nothing to do with, dare I say, philosophy. But I think it does, and that's the whole point of George's video. It's bigger than transformations of the body, whether it's bulking or cutting or doing a 900-pound deadlift, heaving half a ton of iron aloft while the crowd stands in doubt whether time stands still or gravity has ceased. No, it's really bigger than raising dead weight from the floor. And it's not just personal. I not only changed my own situation, but also the situation of everyone around me. It's not merely subjective, to use a modern term, but is it objective either? I think we have to transcend these simple pairs of opposites that are common in our reasoning, 0, 1. I think it's a questionable choice to say the universe. Why not say every single thing that you do constantly changes everything around you? And it's going to change that present universe around you, or to make a general statement, everything you do changes any universe wherein you happen to be. I don't want to say at this moment in time, because that might appeal to a singular container of time. And this is hard to make a video. It's hard to speak on. This is more so something that you would just write about, maybe a paragraph, and read a paragraph at a time and reflect. Why does George say dictating the universe for yourself and everyone else? We noted that he says for yourself and everyone else, and changing everything around you. The word around also indicates a setting. It's where you are, but not just literally. Whatever term you want to choose to be the opposite of literal. But I just said let's not get caught in these binary opposites. Let's think of setting as something more than the walls of this room. A wall is a boundary. It constrains you. It determines where I can walk and where I cannot walk. Just as a rule is a barrier. You could switch lanes all you want on the highway without a directional. Sure, but it's not very wise. You might get hit. But the lines, the roads themselves, and the partitions and those lines, the yellow line, the white line, that determines where you drive your car. And you expect the other drivers to also follow those rules, such that law becomes a ground on which you walk. It becomes obvious and thus imperceptible, but it's hugely determinative. It doesn't necessarily say do this, do that, but it determines the style under which nearly all actions will take place. George does use a legal expression. What do you think he means when he says dictating the universe for yourself and everyone else? Why did he choose this term? Now, obviously, it's an inspired speech. I don't think he planned it out beforehand. The body, the brain, makes these decisions automatically, to use a bad word. Flesh thinks. The brain receives, it's as though the brain receives the computations performed by the bloodstream. It's as though the brain is showing what the blood knows. Dictating. It relates to speech. Dictating, it means mastering, being the lord thereof. And you can be by your own actions. If you decide upon a goal, all your little actions, which alter the setting around you, all those little actions are going to add up towards you achieving that goal. Carry out the big actions, not necessarily trying to control the effect. Dictating, speech, speaking, logos, laying out. It's this dictating, or this capacity for legislation, that is akin to relaying the very grid lines of the universe. And now I'm using the term the universe. It's a common expression for everything that derives from astronomy. It's questionable to speak of it as something definite. And maybe it just seems so insurmountable that we need to rely on other ones and just get out of this one and go there. Every single thing that you do constantly changes everything around you and dictates the universe for yourself and everyone else. So it's not merely a personal transformation. He speaks of a power. He calls it personal power, but let's just call it a power. He speaks of a power to change the setting, whether it's the literal walls around you that you see and that you touch. Is setting aware? Is it simply where you are, or is it the laws that you follow, the rules by which you abide, even if these rules are only counter-arguments that you recurrently make to yourself? Oh, well, that's impossible. I don't think rationalization that gives voice to what at bottom is abject fear. Yeah, I offered that paraphrase, smallest actions. What does he mean? Could you possibly control and plan out all these smallest actions? Or do they plan themselves out for you when you have decided on that goal, on that universe, that where and when, that setting wherein you will receive or win the things, not just the things, you'll carry out the actions that you envision. Visualization of yourself lifting the weight of the barbell when it has multiple plates on each side. I don't lift that much, and I haven't lifted for a while. But yeah, the question for smallest actions is, can you control them all, or do they become imperceptible? Is it setting that goal and legislating the goal for yourself that lets those small actions conform? And how does that goal present itself to you? If you're sitting and thinking, the body that communicates it to its periphery, which is really the brain. The brain's not the center. It's as though it's the surface, as though it's the outer sphere, and it sees that, and it holds that picture in mind. The brain, in that case, is useful for coherence. The bloodstream, the hormones, it goes up and down, up and down. The goal for the bloodstream would be recurrent. The brain could at least keep that image seen, that scene in which you lift the weight. You are married to that girl whom you now only fancy. You raise a family with her. As always, guys, thanks for watching my videos. Don't forget, like, share, and subscribe. And check out musclemasochist.com for this may be the first of 1 or 3 videos in a series of those videos, if you can tolerate that, but tolerance is the virtue. Right? Minor points to make. The sequence of recordings that I have, it might take me too long. Spin off 1 or 2, that would be a victory. No, I mean, this video has been haunting me. Simple, stupid things that I have to say in a court of common sense. The first spark of the fire's faintest ember.